That's the first my browser crashed on the countdown.
Huh. It's weird.
All right. So Mando Day, Bad Batch Day. How's it going?
Yeah. I'm well. It was
Well,
it was quite a Wednesday. Quite a Star Wars Wednesday.
that it was. All right. Well, let's just dive right
Swan
into
dive
it.
into it.
So first thing I want to talk about, and encapsulates quite a few things actually,
Yeah.
is this episode was directed by Rachel Morrison, who
Okay.
is a newcomer to the Mando directing family.
Oh, that I was not aware of.
And looking at her resume here on IMDb, in the director's chair, hasn't really done a whole lot. So quite a newcomer as far as directing, but she's pretty well versed in cinematography. So she is a cinematographer. She has 52 credits to her name, including director of photography for Black Panther. So that might be your little bit of your Disney connection there.
Yeah.
So first off, what I want to talk to you about is there was a little news article at the bottom that says Mandalorian season 3 episode 2 looks great, and you can thank director Rachel Morrison. I want to start there because my major gripe with this episode is I don't know if it's because big screen, big room in the daytime when I watched it, but I had a hard time just seeing the scenes. It was Game of Thrones all over again. I'm like standing up, looking at different angles. I'm changing my picture setting. Like I literally could not make out much detail at all in a lot of those mine scenes and the big underwater scene. I don't know if it was just me. I know you probably watched it in the your little theater room.
Yeah.
With probably the best conditions possible.
I had to
Didn't look much.
turn the lights off.
Yeah,
Like had to go turn every light off. It was tough to see.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. So
No.
that's why I read that and I was like, yeah, the wide shots of leaving Mos Espa and Mandalore, the destruction and stuff like that looked good. But the second they got in the caves, though, I couldn't see shit. I'm not gonna lie. I was kicking myself. I didn't watch it at night, but that's why I was anxious to ask you, like, would I have even noticed much of a difference?
Maybe
sounds like not
a little bit.
Yeah. So
and here's the issue. And you and I have talked about this before. This is my 30-second nerdy rant.
Yep.
When you stream something, you're streaming it at like 25 megabits per second. The hardest thing in the world for streaming data to interpolate is different shades of dark gray. So, for example, you referenced Game of Thrones. Like I bought the Game of Thrones 4K discs. The first thing I did was go back and watch The Long Night because I was like, okay, cool. And this is going to be one of those episodes I think that had it was, don't get me wrong, it was amazing.
Yeah,
but there were scenes I would love to go watch on a disc because when you stream something, it's so compressed, it's so hard to see. Yeah, I literally had a light on over in a far room. I went and turned it off just to try and see more.
Yeah, because I'm like, great, they're exploring the ruins of Mandalore. Like, there might be some cool stuff to see. I could barely see the characters. The only thing I could see was the little flashlights on their helmets lit up. That was it.
Yeah, but the scene flying out of Mos Espa during the celebration, the flying into Mandalore, I love the way they show his ship moving in through, like when he gets into through orbit, and it was cinematically stunning. It was beautiful.
Agree on all of those points. Okay, so we are kind of saying the same thing there. So we get the resolution and the droid thing. You were right. He obviously was going to I don't know what her name is.
Pally.
Yes, on Tatooine to get the part, and she came and get the part. So that whole part with IG-11, I don't know, but so we end up with the droid from A New Hope that has the bad motivator, and she just willy-nilly throws or re-puts in the droid cockpit Astromech slot. Which to me, I'm like, okay, I know they just released the Lego for the N1. I want to go look to see if it has the Astromech spot, because if it does it, in a year they're going to re-release it again, but it's going to be slightly different. So cash grab,
Here's the thing: he was always destined to pick up an astromech droid. As soon as that thing was produced, you couldn't think that Grogu was just going to. Maybe was going to hang out in that bubble.
Yeah,
for all time. It just wasn't.
And I guess in a starfighter where you're constantly going to hyperspace and traveling like that, like the history of Star Wars has shown, you kind of need a droid companion to help you out when the times get tough. So I was fine with that. But then he said something interesting. Maybe you know what this word means. I Googled it and found an unfortunate answer. He said he needed IG-11 to go splunking.
Spelunking.
Yeah.
So spelunking is like cave diving. I first heard the term Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. When he goes in to see Morgan Freeman. He's like, I want to go spelunking in this. He's like, the Billionaire Spelunking Club. It's the only reason I know what that is.
Yeah. So when he says that, I was like, okay, is this a Star Wars term or a real term? So I just Googled what I thought it was spelt. And I got having a blob of blank striking one's face, or the art of shooting a wad of man juice into someone's face. I was like,
so that was more spunking, not spelunking.
That is spelunking. SPLU.
Oh, wow,
It's just missing the E. So not what he was doing on Mandalore, maybe what he was doing on Bo-Katan's moon, but
maybe when he visited Bo-Katan for that thing, because she'll take the helmet off.
Speaking of which, we talked about last week whether or not she just sits on that throne all day sulking. This week she was still sulking on that when she did not, and she didn't know someone was coming this time, because remember we assumed she was told and she was going to go to the room to receive them. No, she was just chilling.
Sulking. Yeah.
So she's still sulking, which is, her days must be long and boring. Okay, so enough with all that stuff. We get to Mandalore.
Is that a good look for today, though? Like, do you want to portray her just sitting there with, it's International Women's Day? Like, should she really just be like, bro, doing nothing? Like, does that send the right message? I don't even know.
She comes and saves the day again. She saves the day.
She does save the day.
Yeah. So Mando in the darkness encounters some creatures of Mandalore. One was the All Mights or whatever. They're species that would eat humans, it sounds like. And he gets captured by some weird General Grievous type cyborg droid thingy. Yeah. Which provided a cool scene because Grogu has to go get Bo. And when Bo shows up, she sees the opportunity to grab the Darksaber. And you can tell she once wielded that thing, because boy, did she look a lot more natural. And it did not have the heaviness that Mando, that Din Djarin's struggling with. She wielded that thing as if it was always hers, and I was like, I was impressed. I loved, even though I couldn't see half the stuff going on, I saw that blade moving in ways that Mando has never made that thing go. So
she used that thing. She wielded that naturally.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she gave it back.
I know. I thought
he was just going to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Clearly you've earned this.
When he casually picks it up and just puts it on the back of his belt, I was expecting her to give like a weird look or stare. There was nothing. No talk about that's mine or let me, nothing.
Was awesome with it. That was definitely the best scene so far in a long time.
Yeah. I was expecting it to kind of have like the Ring of Power effect on her. Like grabbing it and just being like, oh, I could literally feel like the rightful leader Mandalore holding this weapon. Yeah. And it was just, I can't believe there wasn't just a little bit of drama. I really thought this season would be those two butting heads. But it sounds like Bo's just
I think it still will.
You think? Because Bo seems just like she's a little cranky, but she totally seems like she's into peace. Like she wants to be Mando's friend.
Well, I don't think you're going to see a break of peace, but I think you're going to see a lot of verbal headbutting on that thing.
Yeah.
Very much so. That
okay,
is going to be a story.
So, well, let's get into it because I think the last piece I want to unpack here is the end. So Mando finally makes it to the Springs. He goes in. So Bo-Katan reads him the little message, Mandalore, blah blah. She says the way she describes everything. It was just stories, right? For the the common folk that the royal family built up, And again, if no one has seen this stuff in a long, long time, like it's been generations upon generations, right? When Mandalore first settled the planet, essentially, this is when that story took place. When he tamed the mythosaur. So she's just like da 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 da, and then you could kind of see her like roll her eyes when Mando starts reciting the passage as he's getting ready to take his dip. And then you can see her face. Yeah, she's looking at him a type of way. And then when he falls, at first I thought he got sucked down, but I think the ground was just collapsed. I think he just straight up fell. And then does that mean Beskar, he probably can't swim with the Beskar, so that's why he just fell like a brick? Is that what I'm just trying to unpack what actually happened.
Down.
You think he got sucked down by the myth? But then why was he just laying on the bottom?
Well, here's the thing. He dropped at such a rapid pace that wouldn't be from falling into water. That would have taken a lot longer.
Do you think he could swim?
If you've fallen in
with
water,
yeah,
it takes time.
But he's literally encapsulated in Beskar, though.
It's true.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. It wasn't clear to me. Did he just, because the mines have been collapsed or ripped, did he just fall through the ground and not see it? Or did he get sucked under by something? Anyways, Bo, I thought it was, I don't know how logical it is, but it looked pretty damn cool of her having that jetpack underwater to go down super deep. Yeah. She grabs him, and on the way up, there it is, just sitting there. There's the mythosaur. Just looking at it.
So
and then
badass.
So you could,
and that's what makes me think you might be right. So I thought he got pulled under, but if the mythosaur had pulled him under, the mythosaur would have pursued
potentially
both
torn
of them
apart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would have ripped him apart and would have pursued her.
Yeah. Unless I don't know in legends or I'm not that up on the Mandalorian lore, but I don't know, is there a I know Mandalore tamed the mythosaur, right? The beast. But does the beast kind of choose maybe a chosen one and kind of left Mando to be because he is the chosen? I don't know. I think he may have just fell. But I love the look when Bo-Katan sees it. Mando's knocked out. He doesn't see anything. And Bo-Katan has the bubbles go out Whoa!
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she gets up to the top and she is in a panic. And then it just kind of ends. But what I want to unpack there is her entire life has thought Mando's just him and his people have just been a cult, right? They're worshiping these cult-like ways that have no truth behind them or anything. And by her actually seeing the mythosaur, I thought in the episode we were progressing more towards Mando being screw those guys. I'm gonna start taking my helmet off all the time now. Bo-Katan's obviously the one to follow, but by seeing the mythosaur, I think it's gonna actually reverse that back the other way. I think Bo-Katan might not think the other Mandalorians, Mando's sect of them, are maybe not as they're not as crazy as maybe they originally were made out to be. All the old ways that they worship and follow, maybe they actually are right. And maybe
her
why
family watered down these traditions, right? Because her family sat on that royalty for years. And even her regard, the princess went down there, which was her. We ruled these people, our subjects. It was very hierarchical. I was a member of the royal family, whereas he's very much, I'm a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I walk the path of the Mandalore.
And I can't help but wonder, are they going to go then, maybe Mandalore fell and stuff like that. They got weak and lost their ways because they actually weren't following, the real true roots of their ancestors.
One of my favorite moments easily is when they're walking and she talks about how her dad died defending Mandalore, and he looks over and goes, "This is the way. No, I'm sorry. No, nothing. Just this is the way. And that was the first time you could see her being like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
yes, this technically is the way. You are right.
She had a real funny look on her face when you said that to her.
Yeah, this is the way.
But yeah, I thought a really cool episode. Really cool.
Yeah.
Extremely fast paced again.
Yeah.
Like I thought this whole episode was going to be Mando redeeming himself and leading the Mandalorians, which it still might be. I thought maybe episode 7 he'd be in those mines and come out triumphant. We're episode 2, and that's already taken care of.
It's already happened.
We know in the trailers, I believe the only images from the trailers we have yet to see are the TIE interceptors chasing the Gauntlet starfighter on Bo-Katan's Castle World. They said it in the episode. I can't remember what it's called. But we're missing that, and we're missing the scene where all the Mandos fall out of the jump out of the ship and they land in the city. Yeah, the flashback, the Grogu flashback.
Yeah.
Which could very well be next episode. And if that's the case, we have a whole 3/4 of a season that'll be 100% surprise, which makes me even more excited that we've kind of got the trailer stuff out of the way.
100%.
And considering the one thing we don't have is we don't have the interceptor chase, and that is the Empire. Mm-hmm. And so far, we have no idea how, like, Moff Gideon is detained. Thrawn, they're not just going to just randomly drop Thrawn like episode 3, episode 4. Like, that's a build-up for Ahsoka.
100%.
I believe. So it'll be interesting. Are we going to get a Gideon escape? Is there going to be another Imperial commander, leading this stuff? Like, it's just I know we're heading towards another clash with Imperial remnants. Mm-hmm. So I think it's interesting because I think I told you maybe it was episode 1 or a couple weeks ago. I'd rather not see any trailer whatever at all and be surprised. And I think that's what we're going to get, which makes me excited.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to touch on is Grogu almost spoke. And the only reason I want to bring that up is because I literally watched an interview with Dave Filoni where someone asked him, is Grogu ever going to talk? Like how old does he have to be to talk? Like, Yoda is a fully speaking being, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you don't know that he doesn't talk. He's able to communicate with, Ahsoka in his own way. He could communicate other ways, but he's like, I'm not going to reveal anything, like blah, blah, blah. Obviously non-committal, but we see the first kind of like word or jump, like more, more than just a goo goo gaga came out of his mouth. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting if he actually says words by the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Will that change Grogu, how Grogu is for you? Or do you want him to start talking?
It's going to take so long that it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a baby making words. Mando.
Mando.
Mando. Dada.
Food. All right. Let's rate this thing. What do you got? What do you got first before we move on? What do we were the same last week. What did we rate last week?
8.7.
Was it 8.7?
Yeah.
Okay. This week, I'm gonna go 8.5. I would go higher had I been able to see the episode. And again, this might not be the director's fault by any means. Like you said, this could be a streaming issue. 100%. But with what I saw, it was tough to see some of this. Like I felt like I was just missing stuff. So like I wasn't able to enjoy it as much in the moment as I can. But as far as we got a lot of cool Darksaber action, we got anytime Katie Sackhoff's on screen is awesome. And we got that huge Mythosaur reveal, which, fantastic. Like like everything episode was great. What do you got?
I am 8.9.
8.9. Okay.
And I am 8.9 because I got to see them fly into the destroyed planet of Mandalore. I got to see the city center. The way they even have his plane moving in the inner atmosphere just looks so brilliant. I got to see Bo-Katan rip that Darksaber like a champ. Take down the same creature 3 times.
Yeah.
Other than, if I could have seen the dark scenes, this has ended 9-2, 9-3 for me.
Yeah,
I loved
yeah.
all of the things. Like it had everything, like the mythosaur at the end, his commitment to the religion, and just again, like every Star Wars live action is gonna get a big boost from me when I see somebody wield a dark saber like
Yeah.
a boss.
And
So,
I'd agree.
big time.
If I was able to see the dark scenes, I'm easily a 9+. But
Yeah,
you know, it was literally almost 3/4 of the episode you couldn't see.
yeah.
And like the other thing too is we got the Gauntlet Starfighter. Like in the Mando season 2, we only ever saw it like parked. We actually got it flying around, which is just I was always a fan of it from Rebels. So to see it here and to know it's going to be involved in some action coming up, pumped for. All right, switch gears. We got the Bad Batch, episode 12, the Outpost. We finally get a character we've been asking to see for a long time, Crosshair, and it's interesting. We've got now the second Crosshair episode, and Crosshair he's become the clone who could really lead an episode all on his own, right?
100%.
Like I'm wrapped up in everything what Crosshair's doing.
Everything Crosshair.
Yeah. Kind of more of a generic plot storyline. Like I kind of wasn't sure why they're storing gear on a wintry outpost. Like what's the point of like just general munitions essentially, right? Like stormtrooper armor. Like that kind of seemed odd.
The point's straightforward. Like they have such little respect for clones as human beings. They're telling these what they believe to be third-class soldier citizens to man shit that's basically useless, and they're not even willing. Like Mayday mentions a bunch of times about his request for backup, his request, for new parts. Like they're not even reinforcing the defenses. They really don't care that much.
Oh yeah, they're just letting them die.
They're just letting them die rather than pay them to retire as part of that pension thing.
Yeah. So I thought the strongest part of this episode, and it's a significant strength, is the mindset and the stuff that Crosshair processes.
Yeah.
You see him; he's always kind of been that like pain in the ass kind of look, just kind of observes and just does what he has to do. You can see it really start to bother him this episode. Like you can see he's watching, kind of doesn't say a whole lot, but you can tell he's really starting to get pissed off with his standing in the Empire. And normally he kind of hasn't really cared about his clone brothers, but you can see in this one, he really cared for the clones on this planet and how they were being treated. Before we get to
Mayday. Bummed. Well. I would have loved Mayday to be a thing.
Yeah. So him and Mayday go do their thing, and they have the quote about dragons. He would never drag him back dead because it's pointless or whatever. And he ends up carrying him the whole way because it just shows what his opinion changes. And then I hated the new officer right from the get-go, and I was like, Crosshair, you better kill that guy. And I finally does. I thought he was going to gun down everyone, but I guess he was pretty exhausted. I guess he's pretty exhausted, so he passes out. But he just puts one in his chest, which felt very much cathartic. Like it was a good thing for him.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'll say on this Crosshair arc, and this isn't a negative to this episode, this is again a callback to the season. For him to just all of a sudden flip back and like want to protect the clones, I felt like you could have gave us 1 or 2 more episodes to slowly start selling how he was feeling, because we've only got the 1 episode and there was no feelings towards Cody. Cody just left, right? There was no chance for him to see how he was feeling. And then the last time you saw him was he had a chance to go back with his brothers, Clone Force 99, and chose the Empire over them. So to me, there was no built up like building sympathy for how clones were treated versus the Empire. There is on the other side of the coin, right? Like Hunter and all them and Rex all know what's going on with that, but you haven't really seen Crosshair deal with that. So I wish, and again, we've wanted more Crosshair. I wish we've had at least 1 more episode of some sort of drama of clones being mistreated and him starting to snap about it. But alas, we got it anyway, and I thought it was well done this episode. And then we get the tease at the end that he wakes up on Mount Tantus with, I don't know if she's a doctor, but with Emery, who was introduced the episode before with the doctor coming off the shuttle with the Zillo Beast on Tantus. So
correct.
he is now
I hope
there.
they follow this story next week, basically onward for the next episode or two.
Yeah. And they did. If you go back to last season, they wanted the unaltered DNA, right? Oh no, that would just be Omega. For some reason, I thought maybe they wanted one of the other clones. But anyways, they have Crosshair, and I don't know what they're gonna do with him. Whether they clone him, whether they use the cloning sequence to fill in their degrading stuff. But I guess that's what the Kaminoans wanted, though, not necessarily the Empire. The Kaminoans wanted the original sample so that they could fix the clones and fix their batch, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting what they're doing because they could have taken Crosshair any time. They could have said, Crosshair, you're on assignment, and send him to Tantus. Like, why did they wait for him to be, basically about to get executed, right, for assassinating a senior officer?
I wonder if is her name Anne Marie. I wonder what part she'll have to play in this.
Yeah. Yeah,
I hope she ends up being like a rebel spy who removes his inhibitor chip, and
you never know. Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think after this episode, I think everyone would want Crosshair to somehow reunite with the boys again. But
that's what I mean. She's a double agent. She removes his inhibitor chip, lets him know where to find them. She's connected to Rex.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now that you're saying it, I can't help but feel like if they're ever going to kill a member of the Bad Batch, like Crosshair is the one who makes the sacrifice.
100%.
His character arc is perfectly set up for that.
Yeah.
And you know what? To save Omega, because they're looking for Omega, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to call it right now. Crosshair gives his life for Omega.
All right.
In an epic finale.
All right. But it's a good episode. It was good to see.
Yeah, it was a good episode. All right. What do you got for this one? Bad Batch trending up these days.
Yeah, I'm a solid 8-3. It's probably where I was last time. Enjoyed it. Awesome. Love the Crosshair story. Yeah, it was just good.
I'm right there with you. Crosshair, central character, loved it. Loved his character development. I think the things going on around him could have obviously been improved to a different thing, but I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it. I'm very intrigued with where Crosshair ends up. So yeah, that will wrap it up for us. I've said this, I think, 3 weeks in a row, but you can join us on Monday for the season finale of The Last of Us.
It's the last of The Last of Us.
I think it's the last of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So very much enjoying those reviews there. And of course, you will find us back here on Wednesday. It will be another double episode review, I believe. And let us know in the comments what you thought. Let us know if you have some sort of crazy uncompressed version of the Mando episode you saw in the dark. Any details we may have missed. And we'll see you all next week.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.